Joining us now, former counselor to President Trump, Fox News contributor Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne, it's always a pleasure. Wonderful to see you again. Okay, let's go through this. President Obama's spokesman called this, quote, outrageous and nonsense. But there's a big gaping hole in this, Kellyanne. Notice Obama left out and is not directly rebutting any of what we just reported.
That's right, and he can't. I wrote about this in my memoir, Here's the Deal, in 2022. We unraveled all of the different component parts after the fact because things got declassified, you'll recall, in 2019, and we were able to put all those pieces together. Fast forward, Liz, some of these same clowns who defended Hunter Biden as his laptop being Russian disinformation and signed their name as intelligence officers are the same people, like Clapper and Brennan, who were in on this hoax. And people need to look at the timeline, Liz, because they never thought Donald Trump could beat Hillary Clinton. So they weren't that worried about anything. And then all of a sudden, after the fact, they needed to find a way to not let him take that oath of office on January 20th. I wrote extensively about the January 6th intelligence briefing at Trump Tower during the transition. I wrote extensively about what Jim Comey said and how he's a proven liar to Congress. People need to pay attention to this. This is not ancient history. These are the government actors at work trying to subvert a democratically elected president. And President Trump is within his rights to keep directing Director Gabbard and the Congress, frankly, to have investigative hearings. I think we have them dead to rights on them lying about this. The thing, last point, Liz, on this is important because Barack Obama is trying to lean on Marco Rubio, then the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Obama omits an important fact that Rubio himself said as chairman of the Intelligence Committee. All of our investigation points to absolutely no evidence whatsoever that the Trump 2016 campaign, in which I was the final campaign manager, colluded or organized with Russia at all. The reason that Obama left that out is because that is the essence of the Steele dossier, of their hoax. And remember, the DNC paid for it and Hillary's campaign paid for it. Everybody was in on this.
Even, so we should point out that the Justice Department is already opening up probes into James Comey and John Brennan. Even the Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz said the FBI had no grounds to use the paid-for Steele dossier funded by Hillary Clinton's campaign and the DNC to open up Trump Russia or to use it to wiretap Trump campaign officials. I mean, DNI Gabbard says this was a criminal abuse of power and of U.S. intelligence. I mean, Obama knew that U.S. intelligence had told him that Russia did not have the capability to change the vote. Special counsels Robert Mueller, John Durham said there was never any proof Trump colluded with Russia to hack Democrat emails.
So, Liz, I also want to remind the public, your viewers, that we, the people, have paid tens of millions of dollars for all this nonsense. Who do you think foots the bills for these phony investigations and concoctions? The taxpayers. The Mueller investigation last count was about $55 million. And to say absolutely nothing, that there was nothing there, the Seinfeld scandal was about nothing. And yet, they did that to subvert. They didn't know how to stop Donald Trump. They never thought he would win. That's why they impeached him. That's why they indicted him. That's why they insulted him. That's why they impugned him. And in this case, it's why they investigated. And for Barack Obama himself, as still the sitting president, Liz, in December of 2016, to say, don't like that report, start a new investigation. That is exactly what so many Americans fear about the levers of government. They fear that those in power use that power to hurt the people.
Yeah, that's why the youth vote. That's why millennials were so afraid that the levers of government could be used against them, then they went for Trump in this election. So
Yes.
this is the first time that we saw the weaponization of government to go after a political rival. Later, they tried to jail Trump. This is poison for the American system, Kellyanne. People are already cynical about what goes in Washington, D.C. And to have Obama be the ringleader of the Trump-Russia deception is really, really his legacy right now. I mean, the more documents, more shoes are going to drop. There's going to be more stuff coming out about this because this is just the tip of the iceberg we're hearing.
It has to be. And I would also point everybody's attention, also in my book, Liz, to a letter Susan Rice basically wrote on Inauguration Day to sort of, I think, maybe memorialize her role in all of this. And then she ended up running the Domestic Policy Council, a very important job in Biden's term. So you keep seeing the same people recycled. And the rich irony here is that Hunter Biden is going after everyone who didn't stand by his father. The same people lying about his agility, ability, and acuity, lied about Russia collusion, lied about Hunter's laptop. You keep seeing the same names. And people need to pay attention because it's not old news. These are the folks who are still in charge. And look, the Obama's luster is long gone, if you ask me. She shows up, the wife shows up every 4 years to trash Trump at a convention, and she has a podcast where she trashes her husband. It's Barack Obama who was out there campaigning for Kamala Harris the hardest in 2024. He was supposed to be the savior. He was supposed to get them the Senate, the House, the White House. I think he's lost his luster, and I think now people look at this and say, what exactly were you doing in that very fraught 8-week, 10-week period between November 9th, when Trump stuns the world and wins, and January 20th, when Michelle and Barack Obama received Donald Melania Trump and he takes the oath of office. We need to know what happened those 10 weeks.
Got it. It's good for America to find out. Voters want to know. Kellyanne, please stick with us. We want to get your reaction to what Hunter Biden is saying. Now watch this.
Am I going to be like all these Democrats say, you have to talk about and realize that people are really upset about illegal immigration. You. How do you think your hotel room gets cleaned? How do you think you got food on your table? Who do you think washes your dishes? Who do you think does your garden? Who do you think is here? I know exactly what happened in that debate. He flew around the world, basically, the mileage that he could have flown around the world 3 times. Yeah. He's 81 years old. He's tired as give him Ambien to be able to sleep. He gets up on the stage and he looks like he's a deer in the headlights.
I mean, it's just this sense of entitlement that, like, from Biden, from his family, from the inner circle, that he was like owed the presidency, owed a second term. It is just very rating. Look at what's happening in this country right now. Like, I know you're angry personally, but you're not the victim here. Utter lack of self-awareness.
It's the shamelessness that really gets you in the end. But one thing we know is that Hunter Biden, throughout Joe Biden's presidency, was a terrible liability for him because he was on Burisma, because he became an artist, because he was part of a kind of like sleazy Washington that, as Tommy said, people hated. You were a liability. You should be ashamed of the ways in which you made your father's political life worse. And like the idea that we're going to listen to you now, like, give me a breaks. Ridiculous.
Okay, that was former Barack Obama's top aides John Lovett and Tommy Vietor ripping into Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden saying we need illegal immigration because we need Hispanic maids to clean hotel rooms, wash the dishes. But this claim that Joe Biden took Ambien before his catastrophic debate where he lost with Trump, where Biden was forced to drop out. Okay, we're going to take this on. Let's take on Hunter's claim here about Joe Biden taking Ambien. Hunter is gaslighting because Joe Biden was back in the United States from overseas for 10 days before this debate. Plus, Biden rested and prepared at Camp David a week before the debate. Wouldn't Biden and his team have tried to blame Ambien the night of the debate? Let's get back to Kellyanne. Kellyanne, what do you make of all this?
Just more lies from a serial liar, a troubled person, obviously filled with so much anger, bitterness, and rage. I think Hunter is relevant for one big reason. It shows you the fissure, the real fractiousness between the modern Democratic Party. Barack Obama had told that he was quoted in the New York Times in August of 2019 saying, you don't need to do this show. He had told Biden, don't run for office. He didn't want him. He passed him over the first time as sitting vice president for Hillary. He didn't want him the second time. He wanted one of the young guns. And of course, Biden makes it. So there's always this tension, but now they're cursing each other. You have to bleep out every other word. And Hunter Biden, by the way, did attack Pod Save America people, so they're attacking him back. I think it's why this Democratic Party has a 19% approval rating, Liz. On the Ambien question, excuse me, the complete harassment and haranguing of President Trump's health, who we see every day running circles around staffers a third of his age. Believe me, it's very difficult to keep up with him. Getting all this done all at once here and around the world. The man has the energy of someone a quarter of his age. But we know what prescription drugs our presidents are on. and nobody listed Ambien. Your point about Camp David is important. There were all these puff pieces leading up to that debate. Go back and read them, everyone, where all the staffers for Biden at Camp David were saying, we're eating lasagna, we're so sick of lasagna, we're playing pickleball. You were doing every darn thing except preparing him for a debate and making sure he had a pulse and a heartbeat. And so I think we're going to continue to see this because 10 months after the election, the Democrats have no true leader. They're all arguing. They're on the verge of electing a socialist, anti-Semite mayor in New York, Hakeem Jeffries, rudderless, Chuck Schumer, no good message. And this is the Democratic Party on display where Hunter Biden would have 3 hours to tell you everything that's wrong.
Kellyanne Conway, always great and wonderful to have you on. Thanks for taking the time to be with us.